Hello everyone, it's Tania Gabrielle here, Wealth Astronumerologist. Welcome to Star Codes, where this week we are entering a Mercury Retrograde, the first one of the decade, the first one of the year. And this one's very powerful because it bridges the two signs that are the biggest signs in play overall when you look at the epic moments, the epochs that we move through. And that is Pisces and Aquarius, representing the Piscean age that we're moving away from, the 2000-year Piscean age. We're now segueing definitely this decade into the Aquarian age. So this Mercury retrograde that begins the decade starts in Pisces, enters Aquarius for around 10 days or so, and then re-enters Pisces as it moves direct again. So it is a very important one. And as it happens, it falls right during the Pisces new moon. So we have a lot of Piscean energy activated. And Pisces, of course, is about surrender, letting go. It is the 12th sign, so it bridges life and death and transformation and rebirth, other dimensions, ruled by Neptune, the planet of the oceans, of water being the only element that can reach everywhere. So Pisces is the energy that unites us. We are all one energy. That's what Pisces represents. And Mercury is the messenger. Mercury is our lower mind, how we think, how we navigate life on Earth, short trips, and communication. And it also represents siblings. So when Mercury goes retrograde, which happens approximately 3 times a year for around 3 weeks, we go within. We communicate more with our heart, with the divine, with our guides, with Source. And so the themes and patterns that we'll cover today are definitely related to what does it mean for Mercury to retrograde in Pisces, move into the final 2 degrees of Aquarius, and then back into Pisces again. The actual degree that the retrograde begins is 12 degrees. We're going to look at that number. It's very important to understand. And the wonderful conjunction that begins Mercury's journey back into Pisces. It's very powerful, and this planet that Mercury joins with at the onset of its retrograde figures greatly, as you will see. And then, of course, we'll move into the tips and the takeaways on how you can leverage the retrograde. So that's what we're covering today. So let's start with the fact that Mercury was part of the stellium, the big event on January 12th that we've been building into all year 2019, when Saturn and Pluto joined in Capricorn for the first time in 500 years. Mercury and the Sun were part of that stellium, and that's what made it a stellium. Because 2 planets coming together is not a stellium, it's a conjunction. But 3 or more make a stellium because it really intensifies the energy. So Mercury was part of that, and Mercury's last retrograde, the final one of the last decade, was in Pluto's sign of Scorpio. So we're tying in, there's a lot of stellium energy here because Pluto and Saturn were the main components of the stellium in Capricorn. So Mercury is now moving to another water sign, Pisces, and of course it'll be in Pisces much longer than usual because of the retrograde. So Pisces, water, Scorpio, water, water's all about cleansing, healing, purging, and it's most likely, usually, our memories, the past, hang-ups, habits, beliefs that are emotionally being let go of. Water is very emotional. So we're pressing the reset button, we're looking within, and that will require a lot of emotional reflection. And in Pisces, it's different than Scorpio. Scorpio is more about the empowerment and getting to the truth, whereas Pisces is about the awakening and the spiritualization. So we already have seen the truth, or we're waking up to it, but now we're moving into compassion, because Pisces is about unconditional love. So something is coming to an end, a culmination for you. You want to reflect on the impact that these energetic shifts are happening. Pisces is all about the deepest, most spiritual, internal conversations, and of course conversations we have with people that are just very connected to kindness, listening, sweetness, silence, meaning no interruptions. Mercury retrograde in Pisces also allows you to piece through delusions or those things that you didn't want to see, the veil that Pisces represents. The shadow side of Pisces is illusion and confusion and secrets that are not being revealed. It covers, of course, also being addicted. And so there is a sense of you needing to look at anything that qualifies. You know, it could be very small, or it could be a general habit that you have that you're now seeing clearly and navigating and talking about, because Mercury's the messenger. So it's like voicing it either through writing to yourself, journaling, or speaking to a close friend or a mentor or healer. So since most of the retrograde takes place in Pisces, it's very important to stay on top of details. You want to leave extra time to arrive at your appointments, because Pisces is timeless. It doesn't like being held accountable for practical matters. So you want to have extra time not only for your appointments, but also to complete projects earlier than planned. And because Mercury in Pisces bridges realities, you want to know that your imagination is going to be incredibly empowered. So you want to slow down your mental capacities and lower your heat in a sense, so that you can be more receptive. And that also will mean you'll need more sleep. Pisces does govern the ability to dream well. And so that dream state, the dreaming that the Australian Aborigines, the dream time, that is what Pisces is so tuned into. So it's very creative and full of opportunities that ignite your internal creativity. So you want to take advantage of that. Now, the degree number 12, we need to look at that. It's where Mercury begins its retrograde. And 12 is important. We have 12 signs, 12 months, 12 hours in the day, 12 hours at night. So 12 is part of our experience on Earth. And it is a somewhat complicated number because, again, it bridges realities. On the one hand, it's about acquiring knowledge, and that knowledge can lead to incredible outcomes. On the other hand, there's an equally strong tendency to be the victim, to actually volunteer for a purpose. So the number 12 and the retrograde in Pisces, the 12th sign, as I mentioned earlier, it is about surrender. So the number 12 is also on the shadow side. The negative side of surrender is to abdicate and to volunteer to suffer for somebody else's goal. So, or, not even, maybe we don't even know that we're doing it, but it is abdicating your own leadership, which is what Capricorn is instilling. The soul Capricorn stellium is to boost us so that we don't become victims. We don't stay in that victimhood. So we're being confronted, the 12th sign, the number 12 degrees, to intuitively get in touch with, when we're with somebody, we need to gauge their motives, their agendas, never sacrifice our own dreams in order to help someone else achieve their dreams, right? So we need to be very aware that, yes, 12 represents being the student, acquiring knowledge. So if you look at the number 1 and 2, 1 is the teacher. It is getting from source. It's channeling. It is original. The number 1 is the beginning. It is creativity. And it is a direct line of heaven to earth, source to you. And then 2 looks more like a student. It is kneeling. So the 1 and 2, the student is kneeling. There's a mentor. That's one way to describe it. It is actually just a symbol of acquiring knowledge. So 12 represents that we are all students eternally. We are always learning. We are always educating ourselves. And so 12 is education on every level, from physical to mental to emotional to spiritual. And that's why when a Mercury retrograde begins in the 12th sign on the number 12 and is already about being introspective, you're going to be even more profoundly introspective and reflective to gain the wisdom necessary and the inner knowing necessary to move forward, to look within for the solution so that after the retrograde is over, you can move forward rapidly because you have acquired the knowledge, the wisdom, the solutions to move ahead. And that's also soon after the retrograde ends, we move into Aries, the first sign. So it lines up beautifully at the onset of the decade. So we need to pay attention to our spiritual education, our intuitive learning, right? Always enhance that to ultimately move forward effortlessly and to reap the rewards of the energy that we put out there. Now, how do we take advantage of the retrograde? So what I love is that there's a beautiful conjunction with Neptune in Pisces with Mercury before the retrograde begins. And Mercury conjunct Neptune is amazing because this is inspiration overload. This is where the ability to see clearly, meaning even premonition of coming events, but in general, just your ability to intuit is incredibly high. So you want to engage in spiritual activities, in soul-inspired activities. You want to allow your mind to melt into beauty, to wander, to daydream, to explore. You know, this is about other realms that are impacting you every day that you want to be in touch with. And when Mercury and Neptune come together, you do feel more confident too in sharing your ideas and sharing your message in a more expansive way because Mercury is the messenger and Neptune moves everywhere. It is the water planet. So you will have the opportunity to take that enriched imagination and fantasy and be able to share it in some capacity. Those ideas you receive often suddenly make note of them because as your inspiration rises up, you truly can have like a forecast, a premonition of something that's coming up. And that means you're in touch with both the lower and higher mind, the intellectual planes and the spiritual planes at the same time. Remember that this retrograde does end up in Aquarius, and Aquarius is governed by Uranus, and Uranus rules the higher mind. So we are, in essence, through the retrograde of Mercury, balancing out and bringing into harmony the higher and lower so that they're not separated, locked out from each other, and communicate so that we have this effortless understanding that can be translated practically into our lives at all times. And so we're being recalibrated. You know, our brain is so powerful. When you think about how we identify with things just because of memory, we think we are our body, for example, when this is not who we are. This is just a temporary vehicle for us to live in. But our mind has a lot of identification issues, you know, that lead to psychological issues because we are not free. We feel that victimization side of the Piscean age is to feel like you need directions, you need instructions. And so that means we need beliefs and identifications. And right now we're being set free from all of that because it is not who you are. Your body is not you. Your beliefs are not you. They're all acquired from the external. So this is an invitation to imagine. Your imagination is definitely sourced from source. Has nothing to do with memory or the past or anything. It is not psychological. It has nothing to do with your brain. It is purely love and light. And so that flow is what is being activated now. And it is very important to pay heed to your imagination, to anything that lights you up as a creative being. The eternal in you, the infinite in you is being woken. So that's the awakening right there. And so in terms of tips and takeaways, during any Mercury retrograde, you want to spend time in silence. You want to take more time to be serene. You want to rest more. You want to put your mind at rest. And Mercury retrograde in Pisces, even more so, because Pisces is that sign that bridges realities. It is about resting more. It is about listening more. So reflection, really make time for that. Taking time to go deeper, to do more research. Mercury also governs language, so look at the impact that your written and spoken words have. Be very aware before you speak. Take that split second, that breath, that connection, so that what you say actually has a really high vibrational impact and is not a regurgitation of your past, a reaction. Language creates a framework for meaning in our life. So in Pisces, your messages, your words reach to the core, and they are soul level. So allow them to come up. Allow your soul to speak. Be that divine conduit. So Mercury retrograde in Pisces allows you to gaze inward so you can expand exponentially. It sounds like a paradox. Going within sounds like you're closing down, but actually what you're doing is you're awakening and nurturing the light within you. And as you listen and follow the internal promptings, that expands you exponentially. Your opportunities, your joy, abundance. So allow that internal language to surrender to source, to spirit. Allow yourself to be inspired. Allow the words that come through you be inspired from your guides, from source. You don't know where they're from, but you know that you are being a conduit. You know that you are not trying hard to respond to a situation based on your memory. You're literally using wisdom and understanding at the same time that you're using all your other capacities, your ability to notice body language and inflections of somebody's voice and the sound that they're making, the pauses they're taking. All of those are language, and we need to tune back into them and not just hear the actual words, right? It's in music, it's what's between the notes. In writing, it's what's between the lines. And so that in between is what Pisces represents, because Pisces is the bridge to the next life. It is the 12th sign. It is a sign where we move into other dimensions. So listen more to that in between moment, because spiritual language is the language of eternity. It's the language of love. And love is not on a schedule. Eternity is always expanding. There is no timekeeping here. So it's up to you to take the time to feel eternal, to get in touch with that divinity within you. And it is timeless, but it requires that you feel that timelessness. Otherwise, you are caught up in the rat race and you've forgotten about living. You are alive, so living a life and being in touch with life is the most important thing you do. After all the practical matters of the day, you must have time for that. And Pisces reminds us to be in that place of meditation and surrender. And know that the Aquarian part of this equation is about awakening your higher mind, your genius mind, your mind that has no boundaries, no allegiances to any models or beliefs, cultures. It is free. Aquarius is freedom, and it sets us free. And so there's a lot going on now within you to bring you to that wonderful space so you can embrace it 24/7 as much as possible, because it is the only space you know how to feel joyful in. There are no requirements to be in this space. There are no rules. It is basically your choice. You can be in it or not. And you're being shown that it's much more enjoyable. It's much more miraculous to be set free, to create, to not take things personally. Big one there, right? It's not about you. So let go of those reactions. Be a reflection. Be the mirror, right? That's it. Observe. Be more quiet. Maybe not say as much. That would be a really nice thing too. People just listened, observed, took it in. So all these are the tools that you have now. And as I said before, the Pisces new moon is coming up. It is playing an integral role in the combination here with Mercury Retrograde and Pisces. So be sure to watch that Star Code podcast on my website, TaniaGabrielle.com, or if you're on YouTube, find the video here, or if you're on Spotify, iTunes, any of the podcast outlets, find that episode. And also remember to integrate who you are at soul level at this time. You can find out all about your own star code at starcodeclass.com. I created a free webinar for you there, and it is specifically meant to invite you into your soul, to invite you into your birthday code, to invite you into your own astrology code, and see who you are at soul level. What are you here to do in this lifetime? How are you aligned? And you can read others as well so that you understand them. And understanding is what we need more of. So head on over there, starcodeclass.com, for that free masterclass. I wish you a wonderful Mercury retrograde in Pisces and Aquarius. And I will see you in next